Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. And today we are going to be talking about running and lifting. I have got a special guest, Jen Espinoza Goswami. You guys, she spent her entire life releasing her inner Wonder Woman, beginning with a 100-pound weight loss as a young college student, and then most recently as, I love this, a marathon runner. That's right, this woman lost 100 pounds, kept it off, and has kept up her fitness by discovering marathon running. Her passion as a motivational speaker and health coach is to facilitate body bliss for every woman. She is not only feisty, but she's smart. She holds a master's degree in leadership. And get this, Jen has been featured in Women's Health, Prevention, and Reader's Digest. So excited for you to hear from her and how she models healthy behavior. Without further ado, Jen Espinoza Goswami. All right, welcome Jen Espinoza Goswami to the Run Lift Mom podcast. I am so glad to have you here.
Hi, Susie. It's great to be here.
I have brought you on to tell us a little bit about your personal journey from weight loss to runner. Would you mind giving us some details on that?
Oh, I'd love to share. So this is an interesting, fun story to some people. I've been told it so many times, it's hard for me to kind of like get back into the mindset. So just to give a little background of me, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. And at the time I was very overweight. And when I say very overweight, I was morbidly obese, which means medically I was 100 pounds over what my ideal body weight should have been. So as you can imagine, my pediatrician was constantly telling me to lose weight. My family members were commenting on how big I was getting every time they saw me. And I got bullied a lot on playgrounds at the schoolyards. You know, this was before fat shaming was really a thing. So it was not uncommon for most of my classroom to feel it was okay to make comments and pass comments on my weight and to compare me to, whales and pigs and all sorts of different animals that nobody wants to be compared to, much less a young, impressionable girl. So it was an interesting childhood in the sense that I always stood out physically, even if I wanted to hide myself. The good news is it didn't make me an unhappy child. I had great friends. I was good in school. I was very close to my family. So I was a happy kid if only people would stop teasing me about my physical appearance.
Right.
And it wasn't until college that I got to a point where I was like, okay, I understand. I'm accepting of who I am, accepting of my body, and I was always active. So I'll put that out there. Having an active lifestyle has always been important to me, even when I was very heavy. So I was biking, I was running, I played volleyball in school. I was a very athletic kid. Eventually, when I was in college, about 1 month or 2 months before I was going to graduate college. So I did well in school. I was supporting myself, living independently. And my grandmother, who had struggled with heart disease for quite a few years, she ended up passing away just before I graduated college. And Grandma Espinoza was a special person to me. She was a big role model to me, and she was a very dynamic, exciting, fun woman. She was 88 years old when she passed away, and she was the last of my grandparents to pass away. So it was kind of like one of those milestone moments where you're like, I don't have any elders in my life right now. And I looked ahead to my future. We have those moments in life where we just are at a standstill and we're like, what happens now? I'm about to graduate. I'm about to start my life. Someone who's important to me just passed away. And I said, well, 15 years from now, where will I be? I was continuing to gain weight because for me, it was never about my activity. It was about what I ate. I was eating so much food. I love food. And unfortunately, I was eating a lot of the processed foods that were not helping me live the lifestyle I wanted. So I said, well, if I keep doing this and I keep gaining 5 or 10 pounds every year, which was the usual for me, then I may be in a scooter someday and not able to move and not able to bike and not able to independently do all these things that were really important to me. So I said, I need to do something. What on earth do I do? I had never dieted. I was very unusual because most kids, they start their first diet at 10 years old. I mean, the statistics are out there and it's a little scary. But I was never that kid. I was never interested in the shakes or the grapefruit or the cabbage soup or any of those things because I knew my worth. But in college, I'm like, yes, I have worth, but I'm also growing too big and I'm not fitting in the world anymore. And I want to fit in the world. So I said, well, I can change how I eat. So slowly over the course of the next year, I changed how I ate. I moved as much as I was doing before, maybe did a few different movements, a few different trainers I was working with, but I lost 100 pounds in 1 year.
Wow. So you said you changed what you ate, and you let us know that prior to that, you had been eating a lot of the Franken foods, the processed stuff. So may I ask you to clarify in what way you changed what you ate?
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the things that were super important to me when I first started dieting is I understood about myself that eating a bunch of salad all day long was never going to work for me because I was never going to keep it up. I dislike raw vegetables. I don't like salads in particular. They don't fill me up. They don't make me feel satisfied. So I knew there were a couple of things that were automatically off the table in terms of eating healthier. Certainly that is a good approach to take if you think you can do it long term, but I didn't think I could. So I said,
I want
well,
to emphasize for the person listening that your first thought process was, can I do this long term? If someone likes raw carrots and broccoli all day long, then yeah, go for it. But your first, as you're thinking about wrapping your head around this, it's, can I do this long term?
yes, yes. And I was also determined to not fall into the diet mentality, which is the eat less of this or don't eat that. I didn't want that mentality. So what I did was I added things. So the things that I like to eat that are still healthy or healthier than some of the things I'd gotten used to eating, I added more of those. And those tended to be things that were full of fiber. So legumes, whole grains, nuts, those sorts of things. I already liked eating those. I just needed to eat more of them. So I felt full. And so that those other processed foods that I slowly eliminated from my diet wouldn't be front and center. They'd be kind of like a condiment to what I was normally eating. And it was really important for me that I not be hungry because when I finally sat down and created awareness around what I was eating in a day, I was eating upwards of 4,000 calories per day. And no wonder I was almost 300 pounds because
Right.
you don't need that much calories.
Well, and that 5 pound a year weight gain that you described earlier as well is consistent with the number of calories that you were taking in.
Very true. Yeah. So, I had never really paid attention. I knew I was overeating, but I never wrote it down and got really clear about that. When I did, I'm like, okay, well, I need to eat less, but I need to do it in a way that I can still feel full and satisfied and happy with what I was eating. So my solution was eat more fiber. And over time, I slowly weaned myself off of, I came from a budgeting family. We were a middle-class family, and I'm the youngest of 4 children. We didn't have a lot of money. So we didn't do a lot of, fresh farmers markets and things like that. They didn't really exist as much in my childhood home. So we did a lot of canned goods. We did a lot of box goods. We did a lot of coupon foods. And unfortunately, a lot of the things you can get coupons for are not the healthiest. They're very low fiber. They might be high in sugar. They might be high in fat. There's a lot of things going on there. So, of course, I became very aware of nutrition labels and what to look for on a nutrition label. And at the time, I was less concerned about sugar or fat or things like that, but focused on what is the maximum number of calories that I can eat in a day and still lose weight. And, anything less than 4,000 was going to get me there. But over time, I had to adjust that and find just the perfect amount for myself as I started slimming down. And that was a continuous process of awareness and review and finding foods I liked. I tried about one new food a week. I tried cooking something new a week. That's the number one skill that I like to model for my children is cook something. Even if you don't have a lot of skills, if you don't know how to do it, just try new things.
And what I really love about this, look, we have nerded out with dietitians. Listeners of this show know that, my master's is in a nutrition related area. We don't need to talk about fiber content and the types of foods you were eating. I want people to hear loud and clear your mindset was on adding new things. And you have taken that you can take that same mindset, adding healthy things, into being a mother as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about, learning to cook, kind of, doing that with your kids, modeling healthy behavior for the next great generation?
Yeah, absolutely. I love cooking. And when I say cooking, like I used to watch The Frugal Gourmet on the PBS channel. Like Jeff was my favorite guy. I used to watch him and learn how to make homemade bread and all these things. My mom never let me in the kitchen when I was a kid. We had a very small kitchen, and when she was cooking, she needed her space. So she kicked all us kids out of the kitchen. And so I dreamed and watched shows on how to make food. So eventually, when I became independent and lived on my own, I'm like, I'm going to start cooking it up a storm. So I bought some magazines. Cooking Light was my favorite magazine at the time. And I just tried new recipes. So Cooking Light, their philosophy is, reducing the fat, reducing the calories, that sort of thing. But for me, it was exploration. So I grew up as a mixed kid. My father's Hispanic, my mom is white, and I love spice. So I wanted to explore some of those fun cuisines, the things I don't typically eat. I didn't try Indian food until I was 20 years old, and my husband is from India. So, I love exploring these things. I have a degree in global studies, so other cultures have always been interesting to me. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try Chinese today. I'm going to try, Ethiopian today. I'm going to try this or that and the other. And spice is a really important element in my cooking. My children today eat way more adventurously than I used to as a kid. I never ate fish as a kid. I never ate some of those things that were highly spiced. But today my kids eat sushi. We eat curry all the time. So it's important to me that, and to listeners who are listening to this, I know that cooking can be very intimidating for a lot of people. So I'm a self-taught cook. I'm not like some gourmet chef out here, but I have fun with the process. And when I start a new recipe, I try it for the first time exactly as it's written down. But after that, I tweak it according to what my family wants. So for example, if it says, put broccoli in this recipe. I tried it the first time with broccoli. Okay, that was okay, but I'm going to make it one step better. I always like to improve things and add things and make it more interesting and more personable to my family. So maybe not broccoli next time, maybe cauliflower, or maybe a slightly different spice blend or something like that. And I do blend some of my own spices, not from hand. I'm not doing a mortar and pestle, but I do explore different ways to incorporate flavor. So that's really important to me.
I love it. It's so cool because I think the listener can understand how you lose weight when your mentality is exploration, adding things, right? But then also I, as a fellow mom, and I actually have 4 kids, I love hearing how you've been able to model that healthy behavior for your kids as a result of your personal journey. Before I hit you with some rapid fire, can you tell me a little bit about running? You are on Run Lift Mom.
So I hated running as a kid. I was that kid who was jealous of the kids who had a doctor's excuse for getting out of running because they had asthma. I was like, I want to be one of those kids. It was back in high school. I was always the last one to cross that finish line at like the 13, 14-minute mark, whatever. And I was dying. I thought I was going to die. Interestingly enough, 2 years ago, I had run here and there a couple 5Ks just to see if I could, and it was okay. It was never interesting or fun for me. But 2 years ago, my local fitness group called Fit for Mom, they have national franchises and things like that. But that was the group I've been working out with, doing a lot of high-intensity interval training, some lifting, resistance training. That's my jam. But they started a run club, and the run coach was super impressive to me. I mean, she had exercise physiology background. She had trained athletes, military people, and she's just a great person. She's a very lovely person. And she said, yeah, if you want to join Run Club, just let me know. I have training plans for 5K and half marathon. And earlier that year, I had been diagnosed with exercise-induced asthma.
You finally got your asthma note, like, as a mother.
Karma comes around people. It really does.
It does.
And so I was like a little concerned because I'm like, well, I have asthma now and it's a thing. And breathing, I need an inhaler sometimes to breathe, which is really unfortunate. I get the struggle of people who have asthma issues now. But I was intrigued when she said half marathon training plan. It kind of sat in my head for a while, and I gave myself 24 hours. I like to listen to my gut. And so my gut was like intrigued, and there were some butterflies going on, but I sat with it for 24 hours. I'm like, can I do this? And at the end of 24 hours, I was still excited about the idea of training for a half marathon. I had not been running at all before this point, occasionally, very occasionally. I signed up for the Run Club. I signed up for my half marathon race. And I was ready to go. And the good news about me and my process is I'm very much a person who schedules things out. I know 2 months out what my exercise plan looks like because activity has always been a thing for me. It's my stress relief. So I'm like, okay, I got my plan and I'm ready to go. Like I had it all set in stone within 48 hours after I signed up. And that removed any doubts because I'm like, the plan is there, the race is scheduled, I'm all in. And that's how I kind of set myself up for success because the plan was outlined. I didn't have to think about anything. It was all ready to go.
I love this. I hope that the listener is picking up on in your weight loss journey. Your first thought was, can I do this long term? But then also for the other big goal in your life. So in doing that half marathon, I love that you say, hey, I trust my gut, but I let myself sit with it for 24 hours. Are you still excited? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, do your thing. So awesome. So you're officially a runner now.
I am. It was a horrible race because it was really cold. And I thought I was going to die. Like I was making these noises of pain after I finished. But I'm so glad I finished it because I knew that I could do it. And I proved to myself I could do it. And I had the right training and the right mindset to do that.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. Again, listener, you're either going to swipe up or you're going to click the hyperlink that says details. Depends on the player that you're in. You can grab that ebook from Jen and you can also subscribe to her YouTube channel.
Wonderful. Don't forget to bake happy, folks.
Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your personal story with us. I want you guys to hear loud and clear. If you didn't have healthy behavior modeled for you, that doesn't count you out. It doesn't mean you're a hopeless case. Take Jen's story as a positive example and look at the way she is modeling healthy behavior for her own children. It doesn't have to be a pass it down through generations thing. Start the tradition if you need to. If you want to find out more about Jen, you can find her on YouTube. You can also find her on her Facebook page, Be Weightless. That's the letter B, Weightless. And if you want to swipe up or click details, I also want to provide to you the link to that e-cookbook. You guys, there are some awesome desserts in here, and we're so excited to share this with you. Thank you for coming on the show again, Jen, and being a positive role model. Until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast. Thank you for listening to Run Lift Mom. I am so excited to offer a special discount to listeners of this show, and you're not going to find it anywhere else, so commit it to memory. Use the discount code RLM at checkout on my Alouette site to receive 15% off your order. You're going to go to alouette.com/runliftmom, and you can find that linked in the show notes. But remember, because this isn't in the show notes, the code RLM is only for people hearing my voice right now. You're going to save 15% off your order using RLM. And yes, this can be stacked with other gift with purchase or BOGO discounts. It's time for the Alouette product of the week, and this week it is the Soothe and Smooth Lip Balm and Exfoliator. Riddle me this. Do you wear a bunch of fancy lipstick and lip gloss, but you never exfoliate your lips? What? Just me? Hey, we know that it's important for us to exfoliate our faces, our skin, to get those dead skin cells off, so why don't we do it on our lips as well? If you have been putting all of your fancy, colorful lip product on and wondering why it doesn't seem to stay on as long or why it's not moisturizing, it might be because your lips are due some exfoliation time, and that is what this is going to give you. So you've got a great exfoliator with aloe vera, vitamins A and E, and then also a minty balm to top it off. You guys, this is fantastic. It is the Soothe and Smooth Lip Balm and Exfoliator.